Hi, I'm Lou with another episode of My Car Story. And today we've got a very interesting car. We're in the western suburbs of Illinois. And I've got Alan and Dave Krodel. Alan, lead the charge here. You started this interest in these Studebakers. What year, make, and model do we have?
We have a 1964 Studebaker Commander Wagonaire.
And as I understand it, when you were a young man, we're going to see a picture of you with it. Not this one, but one like it.
Yes, many years ago we lived in Maryland, and I had one that was my daily driver. So I was glad Dave was able to find this one.
And Dave, you own this car, and you did this as like a tribute to your father. Would that be fair enough?
I did. It was my 50th birthday present to myself. It came for sale over Thanksgiving vacation in November 3 years ago, and I bought it. And yeah, it was a way to commemorate growing interest in the hobby with my dad. And so we decided to take this on.
Let's go right to our featured attraction. Let me show you. I'm starting off right with the cherry on the Sunday. Come on alongside me, guys. And we'll take a look at the back of that. Now, obviously, this thing has what looks like a sunroof that slides in. And I've never seen that on a station wagon before. Is that a Studebaker only type opportunity there, or what do we have?
That is pioneered first by Studebaker and used during the 1963 to 66 model run. There was a 2003 GMC Envoy that adopted that same technology with an electric sliding roof. It lasted 1 year later on.
Okay, perfect. So let's take a look at our trunk and treats right off the bat. This is a giant postcard. There's the actual Wagonaire. Here's the owner's guide talking about the Challenger, the Commander, the Daytona, the Cruiser. Now, did all of those have wagons?
All of them but the Cruiser.
Okay. And then this actual picture is you right here, correct, Alan?
That is me. That's probably about 50 years ago.
Got
We lived in Maryland, but our home was in Westmont, where I grew up. That's my parents' place there. So we drove out one summer with our 64 Wagonaire.
There they show, like, I don't know, is that a tree or something in the back end of it? The versatile Wagonaire?
Yeah.
Well, the Wagonaire was sold as a 3-in-1 concept, convertible,
there it is.
A sport utility vehicle by what we would call it today, and a regular family cruiser. So,
wow.
And that vertical, this was, the ad went that you could move anything from a Christmas tree to a file cabinet set to a refrigerator in the back of this. There's actually also advertisements that show people fishing out of the back of them, and other assorted. We've seen ladders in the back of these, people hauling surfboards. It was really a very versatile feature that lasted for the duration of the car's production.
Wow. And here we show easy to get in and out of because you can just stand in it if you needed to.
Yep.
And that step you see in that picture was an option if you had the rear-facing third seat, which made this an 8-passenger car.
Yeah.
It was easier to get in and out of.
So
there's that step right there. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So you could also have, if you had the third row, you then lost the spare tire.
Yeah.
You had to have captive air tires that were put on it instead. So
got it. Tell me about Yvette. Alan?
I had the biggest crush on her when I was in high school.
Why not?
She was a movie star. She starred in The Time Machine, and I fell in love with her. But the reason I actually got hold of that magazine
is that
center spread that Studebaker put in Life magazine at that time.
Look at that. There's your centerpiece right there. So your centerfold isn't the girl. The centerfold here is the Wagonaire. Let me have you hold that, Dave.
Yeah,
there we go. Thank you.
That's correct.
And that's got that step again that we see there. Other blessings like fully padded dash. Nice. And here we have, I'm going to have you pull that up.
I can take that.
Yeah, go ahead. Pull it. There we go. Thank you.
I got it.
There we go. This was actually the window sticker.
Well, this is called the project order form, or I guess what we would call the build sheet probably today.
Sure.
So Studebaker owners, I think we still have the largest drivers club in the world, right? For any car.
We're at the Studebaker Drivers Club, yeah.
So
International.
The point in that being that the museum is in South Bend,
yeah,
where the cars were produced, and very active chapters around the world. Actually, you can send away and for about $35 or so,
Yeah.
they will go and send you the build sheet of your vehicle, and you can find out about the history of it. Some of these are stock options that would have been factory added. Others of them would have been done by the dealer.
Got it.
So, I guess the one on here that kind of stands out a little bit, I mean, we can go down the list, but the one that really kind of got my attention was number 74, which was the hill holder. And if you know that's a modification engineering advancement coming out of the 1930s on manual transmission vehicles, that when they were on a hill, we know that we drive stick shift, we always worry about the car sliding back in traffic and hitting the car behind us. This allowed vehicles at that time to be able, if you depress the clutch pedal, to have a check valve that kept brake fluid up in the line, and by depressing the clutch, you could let off of the brake and be able to transition smoothly into gear without worrying about the car sliding backwards.
That's amazing. Okay. Well, that's fantastic. All right, we're going to close this, and we'll put this actually back in here. Now, there's a couple of things. One, I just wanted to show. We didn't have an extra set of seats, but you can clearly see this is where your spare tire would go. Okay, we'll close that.
So we have the jack in there and such. So.
And then we'll show how this door actually closes if we close this door.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Just like any regular wagon. And this folds up there. Sure. That's how your window goes up.
So this was available as both a manual turn crank, but there was also an electric option that you could get that worked from the key, I believe.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Kind of like the crank.
Supposedly less problems with the electrical version.
I would guess it's Studebaker. I just want to close that.
That goes.
Go ahead, show me. There we go. If it isn't perfectly up and down. All right, let's step back from the vehicle, guys. Let's take a look at it. So that's what it looks like with this back piece, like so. Dave, do me one favor. Show me what the top looks like when it's all the way back.
Sure.
I'm going to hop in this side just to show what we're doing. So you unhinge it.
Right.
And you give it a pull.
You want it all the way back?
Yeah, sure. And then you hinge it in, and look at the roof with the rails.
So this right here is actually a lock. And so the way that this works, it goes into position.
Okay.
But it's not totally forming a closed seal.
Right.
So the idea behind here is that this rotates over, and when this locks, you can see that this raises a little bit, and then basically it compresses in interfaces with the weather stripping that's in there.
Yeah, go ahead, show me.
That's as far as it goes.
That's as far as it's going today.
Yeah. Well, it does come over center, but this
looks a little bit off center here. Maybe if that was pushed in a bit, it'll come up.
No, that's as far.
That's it today.
So this is pretty. Yeah, this is about where it should be.
Okay.
When you put the window up, that'll align it.
All right.
The window will put it back into position. Do you want the window?
Yeah, sure. Let's show it.
Sure.
Yeah, I see that.
And then there you go. That's it.
Let me have you stand next to your son for a second.
Okay.
So, you guys have been looking at Studebakers for a long time. How many Wagonaires with this open back end have you seen?
Have I seen?
Probably
Yours too.
thing. You have Bill Mitchell's.
I guess if you count the meets, 10.
Yeah, I would say somewhere.
And that's
around
over how many years?
Well,
there. Been going to Studebaker things for 20 years or more.
Well, I can tell you, I remember riding in his as a kid. I actually fell out of it driving one night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Out of the passenger side. That was my memory with that car.
Yes.
But I never saw one as a kid other than the one he had.
That's true.
And the
That's
toy,
true.
the toy that we have in here.
Yeah, I had the only one in Hagerstown, Maryland.
And then coming back here, the real problem with these is that they horrific rust.
Okay.
They have really unless they were kept. These were not cars that people kept as show cars.
Yeah.
These
Come
would have been
with
very-
me. I want to show the car.
Sure.
Come alongside me.
These would have been very utilitarian for their
Right.
time, and because of that, they were outside and exposed to the elements. And basically, due to that fact, you know, it's hard to find numbers of these today, but I would say 10.
Well, they're
I
60
think
years
10.
old.
Yeah.
So they rusted out. They were gone. You never see them. I love the look where you guys were trying to figure out, geez, how many of these have we actually seen? There's like none around.
We went up to Union this summer for a car show up there at the
Yeah.
Railway Museum. There was one other one.
I was counting them.
Oh, really?
So, one thing that you might find interesting with these, the roof did not seal when they first came out with it.
Yeah.
So the weather stripping that's here,
That's nice that you've got an extra mirror there. Go ahead.
the weather stripping here was meant to keep out the elements, but there are also 4 drain tubes along the channel that you saw
Okay.
this slide along. There's 2 here and 2 on the other side.
Yeah.
Those drain tubes are about a 1/4 inch in diameter.
Yeah.
They turned out to be quite insufficient. They plug very easily. So water would often get in here, the drain tubes would get plugged, and the joke was that whoever was in the passenger seat upon a stop would then get a shower.
Got you.
I think in early 1963, they offered a delete option. For
Yeah.
$100 less, you could get this car with a fixed roof. And then the company actually came out with a modified weather stripping and I think a 6 or 7 page protocol for dealerships to do a recall. Basically, that's kind of what it was. And apparently, the recall, the modified weather stripping, worked quite well.
Wow.
The problem was this had already kind of gotten out into the public.
Yeah.
And a lot of people became, I think, kind of hesitant, and the idea for that reason it really never took off the way that I think they had hoped it would. I do know in '65, once they moved the operation up to Canada, they only offered the sliding roof. They did not offer the fixed roof that year. And then for '66, in the last year of production in Canada, they brought the fixed roof back with the sliding
Wow.
roof. So,
All right. Let's take a look. Step back with me, gentlemen. I want to get one more shot directly in back. There you go. Come on over this way. I want to get that shot of the back of what it looks like.
You got to remember that
that there.
Studebaker was struggling about this time, and they were trying anything they could to be innovative. They brought out the Avanti, they restyled the Hawk, and so this was a really a clever design. Had it been General Motors, it probably would have taken off. But the time to develop these things and debug, they just didn't have that. So yeah, it went to the field with some problems.
We're going to turn it around. Thanks, guys. So as we look at the front of the Studebaker, and that's what it looks like coming right at you. You can see it's got sport mirror on the right and left side there. You've got the turn signals underneath the bumper. As we get closer, you see the Studebaker there. You can see my hand behind it coming through the S there, or if you want to do it that way. And then let's take a look at it from the side. Just like that. So Dave, how often do you take this to a car show?
it went to 3 car shows, I guess, this last year. So it had been unavailable for use because of some different jobs that we had to do on it.
Yeah.
So it was really this year, once we got the transmission replaced,
Yeah.
we went in. And that's been part of the joy of doing this with my dad too, is we were able to work on these things together.
Yeah.
So I've been able to learn a lot from him. But once that made it, the problem with the old transmission was it would not go in reverse. So the first car show this last summer, actually we drove it forwards going there, but did not drive it backwards at all.
Yeah.
Then we brought it back, replaced the transmission, and now it's a much more enjoyable car to drive. as you might imagine. So-
We're going to take it for a ride. I like how that wraps around like that. I'm going to open up the, may I open up the car?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. So I just want to start in the back of the car. You've got the ashtray. You can see the word Studebaker there on the pieces. Now, were these, were there
were
seat?
put in.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't remember seat belts being in convertibles in the back seat. That roof is obviously the highlight. You have
So
a
we-
relatively simple door. Go ahead. You're gonna say-
We did have a gentleman when we first bought it named Greg Lentini, who lived in Morris, still does, and Greg had been a Studebaker mechanic for many years, and he was gracious enough to kind of take the lead on doing some of the first maintenance that had to be done on the car.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of since retired in that vein, and so Dad and I finally found that there were certain jobs we had to take on ourselves. So we did a front disc brake conversion
Yeah.
for the drums, and then also replaced the transmission were the two biggest jobs that we had done on it. So
And it's got the right amount of pedals.
it does.
Yeah, you've got a 3 on the tree on this one. There's your serial number for your Studebaker Corporation. You have your headlights.
So one thing with this, the car would have come with overdrive and did work. But when we replaced the transmission, we had to make it a direct drive vehicle.
Okay.
So because the overdrive system on the new transmission was questionable. So
Yeah.
Generally, the cars that were built in South Bend for the first 6 months of that 64 production have a two-tone steering wheel.
Oh, is that right?
The Canadian ones do not.
Okay, there's your two-tone. I see that red.
and that is I believe that is factory.
Tell me about the Frigidette. Or
Well, that
Frigette.
came with the car. That is an aftermarket edition, and it is not currently hooked up, but it's an option that we may eventually get to. There are some
Yeah.
things with this car, as you might imagine, that we have on the project list to still do.
That's pretty cool. And then this was what, maybe a radio or a clock or something?
Yeah, or you could put tachometer in there.
Okay. Interesting. Let's take a look at it.
Studebaker was also big on safety. If you notice, those switches are rocker switches.
Yes.
Nothing protruding except for that cigar lighter, and that's way behind everything. So they were really big on safety.
And the padded dash.
Padded dash.
Padded dash was
Yeah.
also
Padded dash, yeah.
no power steering.
Okay.
Very wide diameter wheel to get as much
Right.
turn on it as you could.
Although power steering was an
So,
option.
yep.
Let's take a look under the hood, shall we? So the hood pull there.
So yeah, you have the cable inside.
Okay.
And, this goes up, this goes up. And you do not even need a support arm for it. It goes up on its own.
Nice.
So this is a 259 V8. So Studebaker had two V8 engines.
Ultra power.
They had a 259 and a 289.
Yeah.
And down here,
Right
if you
there in
can,
your 64. Go ahead.
you can find the stamp down here. You'll find the letter V, and that told you that this was a 259. If it had the letter P, as in poly, that would have been a 289 on their V8s. So very bulletproof engines, forged iron
we just
crankshaft
did
and
that.
connecting rods.
Yeah. Where is that V?
Right there.
All right. Go ahead, move your finger. Thanks.
Yeah, basically you could get a whole series of engines in this, from a 6-cylinder, 170 cubic inch, or the 259 or the larger 289, and the Avanti engines were also available on this as an option. So you
Got
could
it.
turn this thing into a pretty hot machine.
You can turn this thing into a hot machine.
Not stolen either, just hot.
We're not stealing any cars on the channel. The yellow obviously was factory correct.
It was, yes.
Yeah. And then what is this booster here? What's
This is for the air conditioning
air
system.
conditioning? Got it. And then your air conditioning here. This is aftermarket with the Frigidaire.
Believe so.
Frigidette.
Yep, correct.
Somebody's going to correct me on that. That's fine. Looks like we have the original markings here on this.
This car originally came with drum brakes, and they would have had the tandem master cylinder. The disc brakes, oddly enough, only had a single master cylinder.
Is that right?
So this was we were able to keep the dual circuit master cylinder with putting in the Jim Turner disc brake conversion,
Yeah.
which worked out really well. It's made the car much more safe to drive, so,
Yeah.
as well.
Let's fire it up. And I also notice you've got the red fan, correct? For that time frame. Yep. All right, let's fire it up. We'll listen to it.
It'll be loud because this guy has a cherry bomb muffler on it.
Okay.
When he bought the thing, that's what was on it. So.
Yeah. Well, it's not too bad right now when it's idling. Well, wait a second. Let me listen to it idle. Can you step on the brakes for just a second? I want to show that tail light. Are you stepping on the brakes? There we go. And then just a single exhaust, right? No, single. You can't hear it out the back, but you hear it under the car. Go ahead, give it a rev.
Rev it up, Dave.
Nice. That was pretty good, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was
That's
pretty.
why it's fun to drive.
Yeah, that was pretty good. We're all smiling now. Let's take it for a ride.
The 1964 Studebaker Commander Wagonaire. Did I say that all right?
Said it right.
There we go. How's it feel riding in it?
Very smooth.
Alan, does it bring back memories? By the way, we picked up Ron. Ron, say hello.
Hello.
There you go. All right. Does it bring back memories of when you had
Oh,
yours?
yeah. Mine was automatic though, but it had the same powertrain, same engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at where we're at, by the way. What year did you have yours?
I must have bought that thing around 1977.
This probably looks like 77.
I think I paid $100 for it. Somebody had put the rear brake drum on wrong.
Watch the speed limit up there, that's where I got the ticket.
I like that Ron's nervous about us getting a speeding ticket in this bad boy.
Right.
We're the
Hey,
Studebaker, we're the Studebaker Commander. We're going to be able to talk our way out of that.
He's going faster, but the speed limit is when you get up here.
It says, no, we're doing just
Commander
fine.
was the middle model. The top of the line was the Daytona.
Okay.
And so that's the picture you saw in Life magazine.
Did they have a Daytona Wagonaire? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
For 64, yes.
Look at this
Then the
one.
cheap one was the Challenger in 64. And that was a really stripped down car, but it had the sliding roof and everything like that.
So in 65 and 66, they started using Chevy engines as Ace.
Is that
They
right?
moved production to Hamilton, Ontario. So you could either get a 6-cylinder or 8-cylinder. The 6 was, I think, 184 cubic inch, 120 horsepower engine. And the 8 was a 283, 195 horsepower engine, which you could get.
What year did you first get this one?
I bought this in 2021.
2021. So
Yes.
how long did it take you to find it?
I had been looking probably, so I bought the Studebaker Champ, the pickup that you see in there,
Yeah.
and I had wanted a wagon, so I'd been looking probably about 6 months.
Yeah.
I had bought the Champ the year before, and then this popped up on Facebook Marketplace. It was down in Springfield, which is where we bought it.
Yeah.
So we literally drove down 180 miles, and we drove this car back.
Wow.
Sight unseen, so of course we test drove it there. We didn't know anything about it. Had no trailer. The previous owner had been the mechanic for the owner before. He had died, and so he basically had it, and we all came down with cash, and he said, "It's yours."
Wow.
So he said, "I take no responsibility for how you get it home." When he saw we had no trailer.
A lot of confidence.
And so 180 miles on I-55 and coming up 47, and it did just fine.
Did just fine. Well, what a great way. I just want to show people where we're at. Talking about cruising on a country road. This is how you do it.
This is it.
This is great.
This to me is about as close to peace as you'll get.
This is heaven on earth.
I do. Yep.
All the corn is down.
All the corn is down.
Fields yet that they're picking.
So tell me about the rear roof. You had something to say about the engineering.
Yeah, so this vehicle, the engineering for the sliding roof actually went beyond just the roof itself. There was so much weight that was added when that sliding roof was put in that they actually had to put an X-frame underneath the vehicle in order to prevent body sag in the back. Well, when that happened, the problem was the vehicle would basically pop up and down and oscillate quite violently. So what they added were counterweights up in the front. They did this with their convertibles also in an effort to reduce the vibration on the front part of the car. So this car rides wonderful. It's very smooth, but part of that is because of that counterweight system that was put in as a result of the X-frame to deal with the added weight from the sliding roof.
Good to know. Well, guys, we're getting a chance to have some wonderful video footage here out in the country. Guys, I want to just say, Ron, Alan, Dave, thanks so much for being on My Car Story.
Thank you.
Here's a little bonus feature. You can see we've got a hill right here. So show me how that hill holder works.
Well, so we go into neutral, as with most stick shift cars.
Okay.
We'll slide backwards, right?
Yeah.
But now when I have the clutch depressed,
Yeah.
I can let off the brake, and we don't slide back at all. And that's
Wow.
it. So now it allows me for easy transfer
there's a little bonus of your hill holder. Nice.